Never steal money from a child, especially if she's smart enough to write about it and win $50,000, exposing you to the entire country. This is the true story of an 8-year-old girl who had her savings stolen by her own parents. Every coin she saved under her pillow, every crumpled bill she got as a gift, everything disappeared overnight. But what her parents didn't know is that she had a weapon much more powerful than money. She knew how to write, and she used it to get revenge in a way that nobody expected. Let's call this girl Sophie. Fictional name, obviously, because this story is so crazy that her family probably wants to remain anonymous to this day. Sophie was 8 years old, and the type of kid who took everything seriously. While other children spent money on candy and toys, she saved every penny. When the tooth fairy left $5 under her pillow, Sophie didn't run to the toy store. She put that money inside a pink piggy bank that sat on her bedroom shelf. Birthdays, Christmas, visits from grandparents, whenever someone gave Sophie money, she thanked them politely and went straight to save it. Her parents thought it was cute at first. They even joked with friends about how responsible their daughter was. "Look at that! At 8 years old, she already understands the value of money better than we do," the mother said at family gatherings. But deep down, they weren't as impressed as they seemed. Actually, they were watching that piggy bank grow with a different kind of interest, an interest that had nothing paternal about it. Sophie didn't know exactly how much money was in there. She never counted it. For her, what mattered was the feeling of security, knowing that money was there, saved, waiting for her when she needed it, maybe to buy something special one day, maybe for college. She didn't have concrete plans yet. After all, she was only 8 years old. For 2 years, Sophie saved. 2 years of teeth falling out, 2 years of birthdays and holidays, 2 years of small achievements that turned into coins and bills inside that pink piggy bank. And then, one day, everything changed. It was a normal Saturday. Sophie was at her grandmother's house, spending the weekend like she did once a month. She loved these weekends because her grandmother always made pancakes for breakfast and let her stay up late watching movies. While Sophie was away, her parents received a visit. Her cousin, a 12-year-old boy named Lucas, had come to spend a few days at their house with his parents. Lucas was the son of Sophie's father's brother and had always been treated as the family's favorite. You know that type of child that everyone spoils too much? That was him. Lucas had a problem. Well, it wasn't exactly a problem for him, it was more like a desire. He really wanted a new video game console that had just come out, an expensive, modern console that all his friends already had, and he wouldn't stop talking about it. "Uncle, all my friends have one. I'm the only one who doesn't. It's so unfair," Lucas complained nonstop. Lucas's father sighed. "Son, you know we can't buy that right now. It's too expensive." And it really was. The console cost almost $500. For Lucas's family, who were going through financial difficulties at that moment, it was an impossible luxury. But then something happened, something that would change everything. Sophie's mother was walking down the hallway when she looked into her daughter's room. The door was open, and there, on the shelf, shining under the sunlight coming through the window, was the piggy bank, the pink one, full of money. She stopped. She stared at that piggy bank for a long moment, and an idea began to form in her head, a terrible idea. She called her husband. They both entered Sophie's room and closed the door. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Sophie's father knew exactly what his wife was suggesting, and his first reaction was to deny it. "No, we can't do that. It's our daughter's money." "But think about it, she's 8 years old. She doesn't even know how much is in there. And Lucas is suffering so much. He's family too. We can replace the money later. In a few months, we'll give it all back, and Sophie won't even notice." The father hesitated. He looked at the piggy bank, looked at his wife, thought about his nephew out there complaining about the video game. "We'll replace it," he finally said, "in 2-3 months maximum." And so, without further discussion, they took the piggy bank, they broke it, they counted the money. It was exactly $470, 2 years of savings from an 8-year-old child. They took the money, went to the store, and bought the video game for Lucas. When Sophie came back from her grandmother's house on Sunday night, she ran to her room like she always did, threw her backpack on the bed, took off her shoes, and looked at the shelf. The piggy bank wasn't there. She looked under the bed, inside the closet, behind the desk. Nothing. "Mom," she yelled, running down the stairs. "Where's my piggy bank?" Her mother was in the kitchen. She didn't even turn around when Sophie came in. "We needed the money, Sophie. It was an emergency." "What emergency? What happened?" "It's none of your business. You're too young to understand these things. But don't worry, we'll give you the money back." "When?" "Soon." "But it was my money. I saved for years." Her mother finally turned around, and there was irritation on her face. "You live in this house for free, Sophie. You eat for free, you sleep for free. Everything you have we gave you, so don't come talking to me about your money like you're entitled to anything. When you grow up and pay your own bills, then you can complain." Sophie fell silent. Tears began running down her face, but she didn't say anything else. She just went up to her room, closed the door, and cried herself to sleep. In the following days, she tried again, asked her father, begged, asked to at least know how much they had taken so she could write it down and collect it later. But the answer was always the same. "You'll get the money back. Be patient." Except she never did. Weeks turned into months. 2 months passed and nothing. No mention of the money, no apology. It was as if the money had never existed. And it was at that moment that Sophie realized something. Her parents weren't going to give anything back. They stole from her, and they didn't care. Sophie was a quiet child, but she wasn't stupid. She paid attention to things, and she had noticed something interesting in the recent weeks. Lucas, her cousin, had visited the house again, and he was playing video games. A new video game, a console that she was sure wasn't there before. She put the pieces together, the timing, the amount, the emergency her parents had mentioned. They took her money to buy a gift for her cousin. It wasn't to pay a bill, it wasn't to buy food, it wasn't for anything essential. It was to make Lucas happy while she was left with nothing. The anger that Sophie felt at that moment was different from anything she had ever felt. It wasn't a child's tantrum, it was something deeper. It was betrayal. But Sophie didn't scream, didn't make a scene. She just stored that information and waited. A few weeks later, Sophie's teacher made an announcement in the classroom. "Children, I have really cool news for you. There's going to be a national essay contest. This year's theme is My Family. You can write about anything related to your family. Happy memories, traditions, important people. First place wins $50,000 in a college fund. Anyone interested?" The entire classroom started murmuring. $50,000 was a lot of money, real money, money that would change the life of any child there. But most of the children didn't take it seriously. After all, how could an 8- or 9-year-old kid win a national contest? Impossible. Sophie, however, raised her hand. "I want to participate, teacher." That night, Sophie sat at her bedroom desk. She grabbed a notebook and a pen, and she started writing. She didn't write about happy moments. She didn't write about family vacations or special birthdays. She wrote the truth. The essay's title was My Dishonest Family. Sophie told everything, every detail, how she had saved for 2 years, how her parents took the money without permission, how they bought an expensive video game for her cousin while she was left with nothing, how they promised to return the money but never did, how she felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect her. But Sophie didn't write with anger. She wrote with honesty, with a clarity that was scary for an 8-year-old. "I always thought family was who took care of you, but I learned that sometimes family is who teaches you the hardest lessons. I learned that the people you love aren't always honest with you. I learned that we need to save our money not just to buy things, but to protect ourselves from people who say they love us but take from us when they want." The essay was 3 pages long, handwritten, with the careful handwriting of a child who was putting her whole heart into those words. When she finished, Sophie folded the pages, put them in the envelope the teacher had given her, and turned it in the next day. And then she waited. 3 months passed. Sophie had almost forgotten about the contest. Life had returned to normal, or at least to a new version of normal where she no longer completely trusted her parents. She had started saving money again, but this time she hid it in different places. Inside books, in a box at the back of the closet. She wasn't going to let it happen again. One day, Sophie came home from school and found the house strangely quiet. Her mother was sitting at the kitchen table with a letter in her hands. Her father was beside her, pale. "Sophie?" her mother called. Her voice was strange, too controlled. Sophie entered the kitchen slowly. "What is it?" "Did you participate in an essay contest?" Sophie's heart jumped. She had forgotten to mention this to her parents. It didn't seem important at the time. "I did. The teacher organized it." "About family," she answered quietly. Her father took the letter from her mother's hand and read aloud. "Dear Mr. and Mrs., it is with great pleasure that we inform you that your daughter, Sophie, was the winner of this year's National Essay Contest. Of the more than 10,000 participants from across the country, her essay stood out for its emotional honesty and maturity beyond her years. The theme, My Dishonest Family, deeply touched the judges. The prize of $50,000 will be deposited in a trust account that only Sophie can access when she turns 18. Congratulations to the young writer." Silence. A silence so heavy that Sophie could barely breathe. "My dishonest family?" her mother repeated, and now there was poison in her voice. "You wrote an essay calling us dishonest?" "You told the entire country that we stole from you?" her father added. Sophie didn't know what to say. She hadn't thought she would win, hadn't thought that anyone besides the judges would read it, and she definitely hadn't thought her parents would find out. I just wrote the truth," she managed to say. "The truth?" her mother almost screamed. "The truth is that you embarrassed us in front of the entire country. Everyone is going to read this essay. The judges are going to publish it on the contest website. Our names are going to be there." "But you took my money," Sophie said, and for the first time in months she felt the tears coming back. "You took everything I had saved and bought a video game for Lucas, and you never gave it back. You lied to me." Her father ran his hand over his face. "We were going to give it back, Sophie. Things got tight, but we were going to give it back." "When? It's been almost 6 months." Her mother threw the letter on the table. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that you made us look like monsters to thousands of people. Do you know what our friends are going to think? What the family is going to think?" And it was at that moment that Sophie understood something important. They weren't upset about taking her money. They weren't sorry. They were angry because they were exposed. "You're not going to see a penny of that money," her mother said. "We're going to sue. We'll cancel it. That money should belong to the family, not just you." But her father shook his head. "We can't. The letter clearly states, the money goes into an account that only she can access. It's legally protected. There's nothing we can do." Her mother turned red. "So we just got humiliated nationally and she still gets $50,000? $50,000 that she would never have if it weren't for us." "Because of you?" Sophie repeated, incredulous. "You won because you stole from me. You are literally the reason I had something to write about." The following days were strange. Sophie's essay was published on the contest website, and, as her parents feared, it went viral. Thousands of people read it, commented, shared. Some comments were supportive of Sophie. "This girl is amazing. 8 years old, and she already understands more about justice than many adults." Others were critical of the parents. What kind of people steal from their own daughter? Shameful. But there were also people who defended the parents. Children don't understand how hard it is to be a parent. Sometimes you need to make tough choices. She had no right to expose them like that. The family was divided. Sophie's grandparents sided with her. Her grandmother even called the parents and gave them an epic scolding. "You're lucky I didn't raise you to be thieves. Give that money back to this girl right now." But they never gave it back. The original $470 never returned to Sophie. Not that it mattered anymore. She had $50,000 waiting for her, money that nobody could touch, money that was protected until she turned 18. The relationship between Sophie and her parents was never the same. They continued living together, continued being a family on paper, but the trust was broken. Sophie learned too early that we can't always trust the people who are supposed to protect us. Years later, when Sophie turned 18, she accessed that account. The $50,000 had earned interest for 10 years. Now it was almost $70,000. She used the money to pay for college. She graduated in journalism. And they say she still writes, still tells stories about inconvenient truths that people prefer to hide. As for the parents, well, they learned a valuable lesson. Never steal from someone who knows how to write, because one day that person might turn your worst action into $50,000 and a lesson that the whole world will read. The coin bank may have been broken, but Sophie's revenge was a work of art. If you liked this story, subscribe to the channel.